Hi, I'm Colin Labbit. I'm going to explain to you how to correctly operate the snowmobiles. Come with me. Alright, so to start off with today, to turn the machine on, it's very simple. You just got a key just like in your car. So you go ahead and you put that in the ignition and you turn that all the way to the right hand side. That's how your machine starts. So when you want to turn the machine off, you turn it back the opposite way, or you have a kill switch up here. So this kill switch here is a red button. Every machine has one of those, and it's very important that you tell the guests that if they get into a situation where the machine gets on its side or they happen to fall off, once they get back on their feet, they must kill the machine straight away. Okay? And then remind the guests that they've got to press the button back down before they can turn the machine on. So that's your on and off and your emergency kill switch button there. Also, to accelerate. To accelerate the machine, you've got a paddle controller here on the right hand side, so you just use your thumb and you press down on that lightly. The harder you press, the faster you will go. If you want to slow down, you just go ahead and release your thumb. The machine will slow down at a steady pace by itself. But there is a brake as well, so this is very important. Just like a push bike brake lever over here on the left hand side, you go ahead and squeeze that down with your hands, and that's going to apply the brakes directly to the track underneath, and that's going to slow you down straight away. So the other things we're going to talk about today is the steering mechanism and the heating on both sides of the hand warmers today. Okay, so if you have a look at the steering here, it's very heavy. Okay, so with snowmobiles, you will not be able to turn that steering wheel until the machine begins to move. So it's important that you tell the guests not to wrestle with the machine, otherwise you can actually damage the steering mechanism on the machine. Okay, so once you tell them that, that'll be fine. Other things to think about here is, especially for the colder days that we have out here, is your left and right handlebar. You've got two buttons here, and that will give you heat to both of those handlebars. So all the way to the left is low setting, all the way to the right is high setting, and in the middle is off. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to introduce how to correctly check your oils and make sure that the maintenance on the machine is ready to use before the tour goes out. Okay, so first you want to do is you want to pull these clips up on both sides of the hood. Okay, and that'll allow you to lift the hood up. Very simple. And first thing you want to go ahead here and check is we've got the appropriate oil level in the machine. So you can grab some blue towel from in at the shop. Okay. And what you want to do is just clean that dipstick off all the way, get it nice and clean, put it back in there, give it a couple of seconds, then pull it out. You just want to check that it's in between the two marks, a little bit over, that's okay. So we can see that there's plenty of oil in there, so we're right to use this machine for the day. Okay, next check that we want to have a look at is we want to check our coolant level. So over here we've got the antifreeze. So you just want to make sure that there's plenty of antifreeze in the jug. Around about the half full mark is acceptable. You might not be able to see that on there, but I can see it clearly here. Now that's safe to use as well. Other things to have a quick look at is make sure that you do have a spare belt in the machine. Okay. You want to always make sure the machines have a spare belt in there, just in case you're out there in the backcountry and you need to change a belt. You always have to have a spare one with you. Other things to have a look at, guys, is take a quick look underneath here and have a look at all the suspension. Make sure you don't see any suspension rods broken. If you notice anything that looks like it's out of place, you always let the mechanic know so you can fix the machine straight away. Okay, we're going to talk about how to get the machine back on its skis correctly without damaging the machine. First thing you must always do, if you see a guest that turns the machine on its side, if they haven't already turned it off, you always turn the machine off straight away. Easiest way is to use the kill switch. Once the machine's dead, that's excellent. It means that we're not going to lose any oil from the engine. That's what we want to do. Okay. First thing you want to do to get the machine back onto its side properly is you want to pack down around the ski area over this side near the track, so the track's going to actually fall into a hole. So you want to pack that down with your feet just by stomping backwards and forwards. You just stomp there like that. And one thing to remember is you never try to lift the machine with the steering wheel. If you lift the machine with that, you can easily bend the steering wheel and the handlebars themselves. So the best way to actually do this is to use your body weight and pull down on the ski that's in the upright position. So what you want to do is get 2 feet under here like this, and you want to use some momentum. You want to use your body weight as well. So on 3, you got to lean back and pull it. 1, 2, 3, just like that. Once it starts to come, you can hold it there with your hands, and you can just move out of the way safely, and it will balance there by itself. So that's what you want to do. Then you can just use your hands to push it back down. Done. That easy. Okay, so the next thing you want to do after you get the machine back to a level ground is you just want to check your oil. You want to make sure you didn't lose any oil in the machine. As we can see here, there's no oil that's spilled around the place, so I still have my blue towel here. So what I'm going to do is just double check that dipstick there. Make sure that we've got plenty of oil in the machine. Okay, so we've got plenty of oil there. It's still in between the bars, and we've got a lot of oil towards the top of the engine that's going to drop back down into the right position. It's very important that you turn that machine off straight away. If a guest leaves it on and you get to it too late when the machine's on its side, it will spill oil and you can damage the machine. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is how to get the snowmobile unstuck. There's many different types of stuck. Being stuck on a hill in an upwards position like this is one of the more difficult ways of getting a snowmobile out. So I'm going to show you a few techniques on how to get it out, and nice and easily. Okay, so step 1, as you can see here, the reason why we can't move forward anymore is because the track is sunk so far down into the snow that now the machine is actually resting on top of the snow. It's just sitting right there, so our track underneath is just spinning freely. So what we want to do is we want to get the track back onto the ground. So to do that, we actually have to compact the snow around the side of the machine. So we have to remove all this snow here just like that. Just by using your feet. Very simple. Stomp the machine. Now what happens as well is when you get the machine stuck, you also can get a lot of snow stuck inside the track here. So what we're going to do is remove this snow for one reason, that shortly we are going to be lifting the back of the snowmobile up and moving it onto this compact ground here. To make your life easier, it helps if you remove a lot of that snow out of the track. It'll save you from lifting that extra 10 kilos worth of weight. Okay, so the next step is, because I'm going to be lifting the snowmobile, and the safest way to do that is from using these bars down here. So I'm going to have to crouch down in a squat position and lift the machine like this and move it over. Some of these machines are quite heavy, so in that case it helps if you get your guest to help you lift the machine. It makes it a lot easier on the tour guide. Another little tip that you can do is you can pack down around the back of the snowmobile like this. That way when you're lifting the machine, your feet won't sink into that snow. Depending on the snow conditions, sometimes when you go to lift, you can sink in up to your knee deep. So in that case, you need to really pack that base around where you're going to lift. Okay, so as I said, you want to use these 2 bars down here. You want to crouch down at your knees, take most of the weight, lift the machine up and move it across. Now as you can see, that's the reason why we couldn't move any further, because of that big hole where that track was sitting in. Okay, so the next step you want to do is fill this track in with snow, so that when we move the snowmobile forward, it's not going to fall back in that same hole, and that'll compact it down and make it firmer. So now that we've lifted the track out of that snow and filled in the hole, we've got a good flat platform to come up the hill. But often when you've got really soft snow conditions, you need that little bit of extra help just to get the snowmobile moving. So to do that, you're gonna have to ask your guests nicely to grab onto the front of the ski here and put their body weight against it, just like this. Pull the track towards themselves, okay, but just to the side of the ski so that the driver will not run into them and that they can move away safely. If they do that and add 5 to 10 kilos worth of pulling power, that will help the snowmobile move straight out of that hole that it's in. So what you got to do now is the next step is to head down and pick up the guests. So we're going to make our way down to the village day lodge. That we've got 6 drivers today. I'm going to make sure it's written up here at the top. Yeah, all the paperwork's got to be signed with their name, the driver, where they're from, and they must sign down here. Okay, and also everybody must sign the back of the waiver form. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about this lake here. So right now we're on Morrissey Lake. Things to be aware of is that we've got a creek over here in the background. So you want to stay away from any sort of creek areas. That's a potential hazard for getting people stuck in there. Okay, so it's a nice flat safe area where you can all have fun. You just got to be aware that you got a shoulder check and make sure you're not going to run into any other snowmobiles.